It's been great. Justin's got a totally different energy than JJ, but is no less confident in his visual point of view and perspective. And it's been great to work with a new director on this film. I've really respected how he's come in and allowed us to all maintain our connections to each other and to our characters. But really taken the energy of the franchise in a new and exciting direction. It's been really cool to see. The journey of Spock in this movie is really defined by one particular incident, and I think he is sort of in a limbo at the beginning. He's in a limbo in his relationship with Uhura. He's in a limbo with regard to where he wants to put his energies and focus and what he wants to do to serve the greater good. And then through the course of this story, one specific incident really throws that into a kind of question for himself, and he spends a lot of the film reckoning with that. Well, Bones and Spock are historically really diametrically opposed, whereas I think Kirk and Spock are kind of two sides of the same coin. Bones and Spock are just about, as different as you can be, and still be very intelligent and very thoughtful and committed to their work, but just from entirely different modes of operation. And so in this film, they need to find some common ground and really show up for one another in a way that we've never seen them do before. And that was really exciting. I love working with Carl. He's hilarious and brings such a life to the role of Bones that it was great fun to really spend a lot of my time with him on this movie. I think he's more human in this film than he's been in the others, and that's in the first film he was struggling with feelings of anger, obviously, and in the second film he was really put in a position where he had to fight for his crew in a very real and physical way. And this film is I think it's just the quietest, most emotional version of him. It has incredible faith in humanity at its core, and I think that Gene Roddenberry really envisioned a future where humanity comes together and not only sets differences aside, but actually embraces differences and evolves as a result of embracing those differences and learning from them and respecting them and honoring them in one another. And I think that is an ideal that we can really use a dose of. I've always said this, but being a part of this particular franchise, which has that message at its core, is something that I feel very grateful for. It's a pretty complex and unstable world that we live in right now. So I feel like the idea of everyone laying down their resistance to one another and their judgments of one another and their hatred for one another and coming together for the greater good is really the only thing that's going to steer us to any level of survival through the complications and the catastrophes that lie ahead for us as a human race, whether they're man-made or natural. So I think that's a big part of it, and it's fun. It's funny. It's got a sense of humor. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Gene Roddenberry, I think, really understood the balance of that in a lot of ways, and I think JJ and now Simon and Doug, and I think the evolution of it has gone even more in that direction. I've said a lot about Leonard and his loss. Obviously it was a really difficult thing for me in particular because we were very close, and we were, friends to the end. But I was really grateful for how the film honors him, and when I spoke earlier about some of my favorite moments being the quietest ones, that's what it's all about for me. So I was happy to kind of focus on that, actually, because for me it's really important to continue to honor him and to carry him with me both personally and creatively. in terms of my relationship with this role. And I feel a sense of responsibility now that I guess I didn't the last two movies, or didn't have to as much the last two movies, but to carry on the legacy of one of the most recognizable characters, not only in science fiction, but in the history of our popular culture. That never really dawned on me, or the magnitude of that never really registered on me before, because it didn't need to. He carried that mantle and handed it to me, but the process of handing it to me was a long and really enjoyable one over the last 8 years, and to have it reach that point of his departure from the Earth was definitely a profound moment in a lot of ways, for all of us, I'm sure, but I know specifically for me. And I do believe that Simon and Doug did a really fantastic job, and I think he would have been very proud and grateful, and probably a little bit embarrassed. But I think in the end it's a fitting tribute to him, and I'm very glad that it's addressed, and as you said, very gracefully so. These sets were all on gimbals and hydraulics, and it was really impressive and fun to work on them. And then when we were in Vancouver, they built this crazy set of Krull's base in this quarry, which was just massive. One of the biggest things I've really seen, and I was very impressed by the atmospheric complexity of what the sets brought to this film, and that combined with Justin's nimble vision and camera sensibility, I think is really going to be a dynamic for the audience to get sucked into.
Hey, so did you like that video? Now, I've got an interesting fact for you. Did you know that The Dark Knight made more money in its first 6 days in the US than Batman Begins made in its entire domestic run? Now, for this and more movie facts, click on more videos, or click on the playlist for more trailers.